Hi guys, welcome back to the Q4FY25 update. In today's video, we are going to be talking about three companies: Eternal, aka Zomato, Infollion Research Services, and the last one would be Trent. Okay, so we'll be talking about three companies. Okay, so the first company we'll be talking about is Infollion Research Services, which is a small cap company, and its market cap is hardly sub 500 crores. Like it's somewhere at 450 crore ka market cap. So very small, very tiny company. Okay, so by the way, if you guys all the three ka business model is there in depth in the business analysis playlist in my YouTube channel, so head over there. Since it is a result update, I'm going to give the I'm not going to go in depth in terms of business model. Okay, but in a short and sweet way, if we have to understand Infollion Research Services ka, what is a business model like. Okay, so these people are like a platform which connects an employee to an employer. Okay, just like how we have Zomato as a platform, right, where you have restaurants and then you have customers who buy from the restaurant, and Zomato facilitates this. Similarly, in Folio Research Services, what is happening over here is, let's say I am a company, okay, I'm a consulting firm, and I need an expert over here. Maybe I have a project and I need, I need somebody to make a report on that project. I do not want them to work with me for full time. Like I just want a consulting somebody to consult with you. Okay, so these people, what they'll do is, let's say I as a company will approach Infollion Research Services, and I'll tell them, like, see, this is my project, these are the requirement, I'm looking for so and so person. Let's say I'm constructing a 500 acre में some project I have. Okay, and I need some interior designer or some engineer. I'll mention Infollion Research Services, देखो मुझे ये सब चाहिए, and this is the project. Okay, Infollion Research Services क्या करते हैं? They have a lot of experts. Okay, this is called a subject matter expert. Subject matter expert मतलब क्या? एक एक फील्ड का एक एक एक्सपर्ट होता है, ठीक है, and they will put up, they will connect you with a particular person, who's good enough for this job. And once you make the payment, once I make the payment to Infollion Research Services, they will connect me with this guy, and then after that, once the work is done, they will give the payment to that guy. Okay, so this is like an intermediary person or an intermediary platform, you can tell, which connects आपका freelancers, your experts in any domain or any field to the required people over there. Okay, so this is what their what their business model is like. Okay, now if you look at them, when the starting of the year, they told that they would grow by 40 to 50%, every year. That is what they're targeting, because if you look at them before IPO, that is the growth they have maintained, and it shouldn't be a problem for them to maintain for the next 2 to 3 years. That is what they told. So when you look over on a year basis, right, if you see, that is H2 of last year versus H2 of this year, if you see, the sales grew by 58%. It grew by a similar rate, like 45 or I think 50%, even if you see FY24 versus FY25. Okay, so in terms of guidance, they are doing exactly what is told. Okay, walking the talk over here. Now talking about PAT also grew by 50% on a year basis. Operating leverage thoda like 2% से miss हुआ है यहाँ पे, and at the same time margins is also stable. EBITDA margin is also stable at 17.8, 17.9%. So it's quite a good set of numbers. Very excellent, very stunning set of numbers. Management clearly walked the talk over here. Okay, now coming to the other updates, see, for example, over here, right, how will these people get more clients? Let's say if I'm a company, I would want to board on with them, right? Like if I know like these people have plethora of that subject matter expert, so it is important for you, your subject matter experts keep growing, right? Because if let's say I know इनका platform में कोई नहीं, why would I as a client go? So if you look at the subject matter expert also, that grew by 32% on a year basis. That is FY24 versus FY25. Last साल they had around 79,000 ka odd subject matter experts, and this time they have 1,04,000 ka subject matter experts. Okay, so that is also a good update. Now ये subject matter experts है, which field are they mostly in? Okay, like if you see manufacturing, consumer goods and life sciences में ज़्यादा है, 16 to 13% है इनका subject matter expert. ठीक है, now on to the other things. What are the other business updates like? ठीक है, so this is one thing they're focusing. The other thing what they have started, okay, the other I would say a recent thing that they have started, this Infollion Research Services, it is still in a nascent stages. They have started a learning and development kind of platform. Okay, just like how you have equity research program, which is my website where I sell courses and you can come and buy. Similarly, they have a platform called as Hooksa. Okay, I do not know what the exact full form is, HUKSA. That is their platform called as Hooksa. Now over there, what happens is, people come, there are a lot of, let's say a company, can come, and there will be a subject matter expert over there who would have his courses, and you can buy that courses and, train your employees and, things like that. So this is still in a nascent stage. We do not know how, this development will happen. But if it does, it would be great, right? Because your expenses is just one time over here, but you can keep adding. The operating leverage you would get over here is immense, right? And it is also like a high ROI, low effort, low capital investment kind of business, right? If you're doing anything like this, because let's say for example you're recording your video once, but you can keep monetizing it over a period of time, right? So this is one thing, but this is still in a nascent stage, so we do not know how it would progress going forward. The other thing over here is, you might see, right, like in this equity research field, you have this brokerage report you get, right? Like similarly like that also they're planning, to provide this, let's say if you need any information on a company, immediately you will get a report on that. There will be an expert who would kind of provide a report on that, and similar like that. These are the two new business developments that are happening. But having said that, this is very nascent stage still. It is hardly contributing to the revenue, merely anything. So we'll have to wait and watch and see how these two businesses progress over here in their business. Other than that, if you see, overall great update, nothing to be, there is nothing negative or such. The company is still guiding for a 50% kind of growth even for the next year. So if you do that calculation, on the other hand, it's like a 40 to 50% ka growth engine available at 25p. I mean, if you do that, if you take 50% ka growth engine, keep it at the same similar PAT margin as this year, if you see, you will get it at 25 ka p. Okay, that's a calculation you can do. If you look at the cash flows also are good. Only thing is, thoda receivables बढ़ गया. It's not increased by a huge amount. A little bit receivables and payables has increased. I do not know how inka receivables, increases, because whenever you get a project, like the client pays first. I think it's an upfront payment. That is what I believe, because it's a tech business, it's a platform based business. So I do not understand how the receivables increases over here. But overall great. Another good thing about this business is, for Infollion Research Services, H1 is greater than H2, okay? Because in H2 you have a lot of holidays, right? You have, what is that? You have Diwali ka holidays and everything, and Christmas, especially abroad. If you see, Christmas is like a huge thing, right? Like you'll see all the offices being shut down for like 10 days straight. So because of this less number of working days in H2, H1 is greater than H2. But and always you will see half yearly ka growth is usually meek over here. But for the first time, H1 FY25 versus H2 FY25, if you see, the sales also grew 20%. So this is also a good thing, okay, like business ka momentum is really picking up in both directions. So overall great. I think another update other than this was, earlier if you see, they were catering Indian clients to Indian experts. Now Indian clients need a lot of US ka experts, so global footprint is increasing, and as a result these people have put up a subsidiary in the US also. That is also there. So overall good update, nothing to worry about. Just we'll have to wait and track and see, wait and watch or track and see that aage jaake also this pace of growth that is there, this 40 to 50% ka growth that they're targeting, will it sustain or not in FY26? That is something to wait and watch. For me, I'll tell you personally, this is my bias, not I just want to speak about this. Like, it's hard for me to gauge how this 40 to 50% ka growth will come from. Like, why am I telling this is because, like, whenever I prefer a business model, right, what happens is, like, let's say if I'm investing in a hospital, like I know itna bed hona chahiye. From this bed, like if somebody is telling you they'll grow 30%, let's say if it's a hospital, I know they have to add this beds, is bed ka, is hospital kitna occupancy badega, ARPO bitna badega. So, as a result of that, like, revenue will increase. Similarly, if it's a consumer based business, I know ki, like, ye itna store add karega, itna SSG aayega iske wajah se, and as a result, whatever the guidance they give in terms of numbers, in terms of sales growth, that will be achieved. Similarly, if let's say if it's a B2G business or a B2B business, there is a contract, there is an order book, because of which, you see that visibility of sales growth, or, the guidance will be achieved. For me, I find it hard over here, or I wouldn't say hard, but probably a lack in understanding of the business model, maybe because of my experience not being there in this field. I have not worked in this field. I do not understand tech, on a wider or a broader level. I don't, right? For me, if I do this, it's like more like a numbers game over here, and that's also completely fine if you are playing a numbers game. But just be careful, if any of your bets are a numbers game. I have played a lot of numbers game, like there are times like I don't understand in depth what it is, but I know ye karna hai, ye nahi karega to mera paisa yahan se bahar niklega. I've also played those games. But if you're playing that numbers game, make sure you know exactly what to do, because tomorrow when that numbers don't match, that is your only clue to exit from there. So that is something you should be like very very, it's like, I think it's like, imagine you're on a train, okay, and if your station comes, you have to get down, okay. That is it. There is no wait and watch over here. So that is the only thing I will tell. But for me, exactly like here, like I told you, 40 to 50% growth they're telling, well and good, there is nothing wrong. I'm not telling they won't be able to achieve it, but hard for me to gauge कि like ये 40 to 50% growth कहाँ से आएगा, because again, I have never seen a company like this. Like when you see a small cap hospital, you've seen something like Apollo, so there is a direction over here, it can be achieved. For me over here, maybe because I have never worked in this field, I like, again, lack of experience in this field, maybe as a consumer or as a participant, whatever you can tell, it's hard for me to gauge or understand. I would say more than gauge, understand the scope of this business is, for me it's hard, okay. That is what I want to convey. I'm not telling iska demand mein kuch bura hai ki nahi, but as personally, as an individual, for me, it is hard for me to gauge the demand, understand the scope of the business. I would say, that is the one thing I wanted to convey, okay. Then the second company we have is Eternal, also called as Zomato. These people change the name to Eternal because when you tell Zomato, it is a food delivery business, right? Like now when you see Eternal has food delivery, it has Blinkit, which is a Q-commerce. You have the going out app, which is the district, right? So when you tell Zomato, it doesn't comprise of everything, so they changed the name to Eternal, okay. Eternal ka, right, there was the main crucial thing for them is to maintain that pace of growth, of that 50 to 60% growth. It is very important, okay, because otherwise you tell me how will they justify the kind of valuations that they have, right? Because it got listed at that kind of valuation too. So if you look at that perspective, if you look at only at the sales growth engine, well, fabulous set of numbers. Q4 on Q4 grew by 60%. If you look on year also 63-64% se grew kiya. Very good, very fantastic set of numbers, okay. When you look at the revenues in terms of, when you look at food delivery grew by 17% on a year on year. Quick commerce जो उनका Blinkit है, that grew by 122%. उनका जो district app है, which is the ticketing business from Paytm they acquired last year, that grew by 146%. And उनका जो B2B business है, which is Hyperpure, right, which is basically like Blinkit for restaurant people, that grew by 93%. So in terms of growth, do you see everything other than Zomato, which is a food delivery business, everything grew by like over and above 100%, right, in that range. So great set of numbers. Now let's come to the main thing, because see, the entire Zomato ka game, sorry, it's just a habit, to call it Zomato. The entire Eternal ka game is fueled by one thing and one thing only, that is Blinkit, okay, quick commerce. If it isn't for that quick commerce, if it isn't for that Blinkit, Zomato would have been dead right now, okay, because food delivery business mein agar aap dekhte ho, there are a lot of problems, okay. First thing, let us talk about GOV, okay. GOV is your gross order value, which is a combination of both volume growth as well as value growth. Because GOV kab badhta hai? Let's say when more number of people order, like let's say 100 people order right now, maybe tomorrow same time if 110 people order, right, the volume is increasing. At the same time, when does GOV increase? When your average order value increases. Maybe today I'm buying for 200 rupees, tomorrow 2000. So it is a good combination of both, volume plus value over here, okay. I've explained GOV in my older videos in detail. You can just watch that, what exactly GOV means, okay. So over here, if you look on terms of gross order value, like, if you see, food delivery ka GOV that is there grew by 16% on a year-on-year basis. Agar aap quick commerce dekhte ho, 134%, okay, and going out is very small, 104%, okay. Now, can you see over here, even here also, GOV for food delivery is just 16, whereas for Blinkit, it is 134. Now, do you understand कि like पूरा growth, ये 60% का growth जो है, it is coming from where? It is coming from Blinkit, okay? Not Zomato, but Blinkit, okay? Now, why is this happening? Because one, Blinkit का अगर आप देखते हो, अभी aggressive expansion is happening, right? Because if you look at the dark stores, this quarter, that is the OND months, October, November, December. By the way, guys, don't go to compare QOQ numbers, okay, of like last quarter to this quarter, because last quarter was Q3, which is your OND, October, November, December. We call it as OND months or October, November, December months. क्या होता है यहाँ पे आपका फेस्टिविटीज आर हाई, राइट? दुर्गा पूजा, दिवाली, न्यू ईयर, क्रिसमस, एंड दीज आर द टाइम्स फूड डिलीवरी इज मोर एंड ऑल्सो ब्लिंकिट का कंजप्शन इज हाईएस्ट. You will keep seeing, no, that you guys need to follow that Blinkit ka founder, man, like Albinder, right? I think that's his name, Albinder. He keeps posting about, ki like last year itna orders tha, this year this was the most order. You get to see Jan, Feb, March, we don't have a lot of festivities or anything, so you understand, right, why QQ will not make a lot of sense in terms of comparison. Now, coming back, why are we seeing this huge scope in Blinkit is because, one, people have gotten accustomed to, earlier it was a 2 days delivery, 1 day delivery from Amazon to 10 minutes delivery, okay? And we are seeing a massive expansion in terms of Blinkit ka stores, right? This quarter, they added 294 stores, okay? Last quarter, they added 216 stores. So this is the highest ever expansion in terms of, in terms of dark stores, and by this December they will be reaching 2000 stores by the end of the year, okay? And they are well on track. So iske wajah se this is one reason. As a result, more number of stores, more volume growth aayega aapka. This is one thing. The second thing over here is, like I told you, कि like ये entire thing is Blinkit से आ रहा है, and even this Blinkit का growth is also coming at a cost of food delivery का growth, because Zomato में भी क्या हो रहा है, one is the most important thing is, as you know, inflation is there a little bit, discretionary spending उतना हो नहीं रहा है, so if people के हाथ में पैसा नहीं है तो what will they go out and order and everything. So this is one thing. Overall the demand is not that great, ठीक है? Second thing, in terms of food delivery business क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे, as you know, this aggressive expansion in terms of quick commerce हो रहा है. So obviously quick commerce also need delivery agents and delivery boys ना over here, ठीक है? And more people are preferring Blinkit, being a delivery agent for Blinkit over Zomato, because think about it, आपको 1 hour में, let's say if you're doing for Zomato, you probably will do like 2 orders, probably you can cater to, but over the same time in Blinkit, the distance that you're covering, the radius you're covering is probably in 3-kilometer radius, right? And you can do multiple orders and you're earning, a delivery agent earns more being a delivery boy, for Blinkit or any other quick commerce than let's say Zomato, like a food delivery app, right? And यहाँ पे इतना dark stores बढ़ रहा है, and that the demand for a delivery agent in a quick commerce is increasing, and people are preferring that, okay? Not just that, all this quick commerce, whether it is Blinkit, whether it is Swiggy, whether it is Zepto or anything, you will see now they've started this 10-minute food delivery, right? Like Bistro by Blinkit, Zepto Cafe by Zepto. यहाँ पर भी इसके वजह से भी, because of this 10-minute food delivery and everything, और भी ज़्यादा demand आ चुका है, ठीक है? So it's not just with Blinkit alone, because everybody in this quick commerce is doing aggressive expansion, right? Swiggy का Instamart भी aggressive कर रहा है, Zepto भी कर रहा है, अभी Big Basket भी 1 day, that 10 minutes delivery. Amazon has started right now in Bangalore. Flipkart is also doing. So as a result, the demand for the gig workers, is killing the demand for the food delivery business in terms of the getting, delivery agents यहाँ पे. So that is the thing. Because of all these reasons, you see that, Zomato का उतना कुछ GOV is not growing. I think this is the second or third quarter we are seeing, GOV थोड़ा. Last time it was 20 or 18%, अभी 16%. So, थोड़ा कम होता ही जा रहा है उसका pace of growth, उसका GOV कम होता जा रहा है. Other thing with Zomato is they have delisted 19,000 restaurants in the last quarter, because ये जो restaurant है, they were getting a lot of complaints, customer का escalation ज़्यादा हो रहा था. This is one of the reason. The other reason is these people, were mimicking big restaurants, like frauding, like, changing few letters and, like ऐसा ही एक big brand का banner बना के kind of, like fooling customers, that one. Or they have multiple listing, like one restaurant has multiple listing in order to, get more orders. This is also a sort of fraud. So they delisted 19,000, not 19,000 restaurants, which also impacted the volumes यहाँ पे. So these are the reason कि like, there has not been that great kind of growth in terms of Zomato, ठीक है? Now see, it comes down to one thing with Blinkit, okay? See, all this growth is great, but with this entire eternal cut situation, right? It's like a catch-22 situation, ठीक है? On one hand, they have to expand aggressively in order to sustain the growth, okay? Because अगर वो expand नहीं करता है, then tomorrow Swiggy will come take the market share, Zepto will come take the market share, big basket will come, right? Like it's either do or die. If you don't expand at this rate, eventually Blinkit का brand ही खत्म हो जाएगा, ठीक है? And that is why ना they're increasing the dark stores, trying to provide faster delivery over here, you know, and trying to do all of these things, right? Like penetrate more into tier 2, tier 3 cities and everything. But on the other hand, the same expansion is coming at the cost of profitability and shareholder का pocket, right? Because आपने पहले QIP किया कितना, 8,500 crore का QIP किया, right? 8,500 या 10,000 करोड़, I think 8,500 crore का QIP किया था, right? Obviously जब आप QIP करते हो आपका ROE कम होता है, ROE कम होता है तो EPS घटता है. Who gets affected? Shareholder gets affected, people like you and me, right? So क्या होता है यहाँ पे? Since this, see, on one hand the expansion is important in order to sustain that 50-60% growth, capture the market share. अगर आप market share नहीं खाते हो, कोई आके और market share you know आपका खाएगा, eventually you will be shut down. At the same time आप इतना aggressive expansion भी कर रहे हो, इसके वजह से bottom line का तो visibility को बोल दो bye bye, right? Because they literally are telling, you know, कि like, you know, by bottom line we do not know when we are going to see EBITDAs, we do not know. We want to, if you don't do this right now, long term में हमें कुछ नहीं दिखेगा, you know, and that is right? So it's a very catch-22 situation, like I was telling. Growth भी चाहिए, because as a shareholder you would need both growth as well as sales growth as well as EPS growth. But here growth is coming at the cost of profitability, at the cost of, you know, EPS का growth. तभी आप देख सकते हैं there was a time when Zomato ran from 150 to, you know, 300 valuation का, तब तो किसी को फर्क नहीं पड़ा, because at that time you had both growth and operating leverage. But now do you see growth is there, operating leverage is not there, so you see that stock, you know, being, you know, in a consolidated phase. So वही है, I mean, and that is the thing, right? We do not know when this entire thing will become profitable, right? Like it's like God knows, like Mo Maya, where is the profitability, right? Because itna competitive, you know, itna competition hai yahan pe, you know, in quick commerce ki, like, you know, right now it is either do or die, spend, or either ways end up crashing and burning. So it is that kind of a situation. So yes, pace of growth is there, but EPS is not there, and you do not know when EPS you can see also, ठीक है? So that is the thing with Zomato या Eternal Limited आप बोल सकते हो. Now the third company that we'll be doing is Trent Limited. As you know, Trent is a company that we all know, Zudio. It has Zudio in its portfolio, Westside, Star Supermarket and everything. Now see, Trent का तो situation is very straightforward कि like इसका pace of growth has come down for like third straight quarter. Okay, it used to be a 50% का growth engine, it became 36, then 34, अभी 28% का growth engine बन गया है, ठीक है? So what happens is over here, earlier it used to be a high growth, high P engine. Now it has become a high growth, high P, low growth engine. It has come in that zone. Okay. Now here is the thing, you can tell all you want, like, you know, base बड़ा हो गया, that बड़ा हो गया, this बड़ा हो गया. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for the market कि like आपका base बड़ा है या छोटा है. You can also compare and tell कि like अरे V2 का retail base is nothing compared to Trent, which is true. But having said that, market doesn't care. Market cares about one thing, that is you grow, you maintain your pace of growth, and you have to grow faster than anybody in the space. But what has happened with Trent is, earlier not only it had the pace of growth and it was a number one in the entire value fashion space. Now that you see iska, you know what has happened, it has, you know, with the entry of Style Bazaar, V2 retail, it's come back to the third position, and on the other hand uska pace of growth bhi chala gaya, theek hai? So abhi if you see, sales growth is hardly 28% Q4 on Q4. अगर आप देखते हो in terms of profitability, profit before tax grew by 40%. Do not compare the PAT on a Q4 on Q4 level, because last Q4 में there was an exceptional item of 576 crores. इसके वजह से क्या हो रहा है, PAT आपको दिख रहा है, you know, Q4 on Q4 as if it has come down like 50%. But that is not the case. PAT hasn't come down. Exceptional item है, ठीक है? Now coming to store expansion, वही these people are adding roughly 250 stores a year in terms of Zudio, because Zudio is a big game changer for Trent, not Westside, not anything else, right? Not Star Marketplace, nothing. Zudio is a main deal over here, ठीक है? अगर आप Zudio को देखते हो, as of now, I think this year they have 765 stores. If they're adding 250 stores every year, it will take them, if they're adding 250 stores every year, it would take them 6 years to double the store count, okay, to reach 1500 stores, या 1530 to be precise. From the current base to double it would take 6 years, ठीक है? So आपको store expansion CAGR कितना आता है, 12% या 13%. आप चलो मान लो कि like 12, ठीक है, let's say they will do more, 15% ही मान लो store expansion CAGR, 15% SSG मान लो, still it is a 30% growth engine. वहाँ पे V2 retail बोल रहे हैं भाई मैं 2 साल में store double करूंगा, ठीक है? That is a 50% CAGR, this is a 30% CAGR. कौन रेस में आगे आ रहा है, ठीक है. V2 Retail which was second came first, and Trent which was first came third, because we have Style Bazaar which is also equally good as V2 Retail, but I don't think Style Bazaar can compare with V2 Retail because उसका profitability नहीं है. And also this Q4 we, oh by the way guys, this Q4 we had ETH, because usually ETH comes in the month of like May. This time we had it in the early month of, I would say, I guess it was early month of April or March mein tha. It came in that Q4 ka month, a lot of demand for ETH which usually comes in Q1 jumped into Q4, preponement हुआ था. So because of that वेस्ट बंगाल में वहां पे थोड़ा मुस्लिम पॉपुलेशन ज्यादा है. Style Bazaar, right? Style Bazaar did well. Even Trent had the same thing, right? But in spite of having ETH, which was a huge game changer for V2 Retail, Style Bazaar, Trent still didn't, crack that kind of pace of growth, which while you're operating in the same environment. So see, that is the thing, right? See, I know a lot of people will give me a lot of, excuse my language, but shit, for talking about Trent this way. But you need to understand one thing over here is that, you need to be able to differentiate between great businesses and great investment opportunity. Obviously, Trent is a great business. It has great management. So does Asian Paints, so does Pidilite, so does all like HDFC Bank and everything. I mean, it takes a lot of grit. I'm running a business. I know what it is like to show up every day. You don't show up, you're screwed, right? Like that's how it is, right? So it does take a lot of effort. I know it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It's easy as an investor over here, to sit here and comment about things, but it's a whole different ballgame to be running a business, right? And to be able to do so in such a big scale, right? Like it's always easy to build a platform business or an internet business than building a brick and mortar store, which I do agree. So great, hats off to the management, but great business. Trent is a great business, but not a great investment probably right now, the kind of valuation it is at with the pace of growth coming down, right? It's like catching a falling knife, what the famous quote that is said. It is like that, because when you compare the apparel race, it comes third, right? And you have V2 Style Bazaar way ahead in the race compared to Trent. So that is the thing. Great business, no doubt on that, but we as investors need to differentiate between a great business and a great investment opportunity. It is not necessary that a great business is always a great investment opportunity. Understand that. So that is the thing. Everything is a cycle. It doesn't matter if it is a large cap, small cap. It doesn't matter if it is a FMCG, IT sector, healthcare. It doesn't matter any of it. Everything works in a cycle, and being able to catch any company in the right cycle, finding a right entry and exit is very important. Because earlier we used to think FMCG is evergreen cycle, but we've seen, right, FMCG के साथ भी कोई cycle नहीं है, because we're seeing how that inflation and having no demand in terms of having a very meek demand in a rural environment is killing the sales growth. So that is the thing. Nothing is fixed, everything is dynamic, and we need to as the environment changes, we also need to change our investment decisions accordingly, right? That is why tracking a business is very, very important. And if you guys want to know how to track a business, how to get a gist of like what to exactly look for when you open the PPT, when you open the con call, how do you read the con call, get the investment checklist workshop. I'm going to link it in my description box as well as in the tweet below, and I can vouch 100% you will not regret buying that. That's my promise to you. Anyways, that's that for today's video. I think my second video will be in the diagnostic space. I'm just waiting for the con call for I'm just waiting for transcript actually of one of the companies. Let's see if it comes. I'll post the video today itself. That's that, guys. Take care. Bye.